So when you open up SketchUp for the first time, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see this home page. And with this, SketchUp has a bunch of different templates in here. So, and it's really just a more of a graphical style of how SketchUp works and looks. And so I end up using likely this architectural one or the simple one. The big difference is the simple one you'll see has a sky. The architectural one is just kind of a blank canvas, and this visualization one kind of has like clouds in the sky, so it's a little bit more whimsical and imaginary. So I'm going to pick this architectural one. Up to you what you want to pick. Doesn't honestly really matter that much. With that being said, we actually do have two options here. We have inches and millimeters, and so up to you what you want to use for that. So SketchUp, you'll be using it through Apps Anywhere. There is some slides at the beginning to open up SketchUp, but this is kind of the first screen after you kind of click it and open it. So you should have access to Apps Anywhere. I think you can use it for free online as well. So there are some other options, but Apps Anywhere would be the primary way. I think you should have exposure to Apps Anywhere in your CAD class, right? Yeah, okay. I honestly I probably shouldn't say this, but I haven't used Apps Anywhere, so I pay for SketchUp and I pay for AutoCAD, so which is really sucks for me, is really what it boils down to, but just the reality of it. So good question. So once you have SketchUp open, and I am recording this as I mentioned, so I'll upload this for you to access later if you're not following directly. And if you don't have your laptop here today, that's completely fine, but it looks like pretty much everyone does. So when you open up SketchUp, I opened up the architectural one. You can open up inches or millimeters, up to you. I primarily will work in inches. Residential in Canada is a very weird thing. Pretty much all residential is in inches, feet and inches. If you work in more government projects or maybe some more high-rise projects, you may see a little bit more metric, but residential is typically all imperial in Canada. So, bit of a weird concept, but that's Canada for you, I guess, in construction. So, so this is SketchUp. As I mentioned, we have our toolbar at the top here. If you actually do prefer it, there's a little drag button, and you can actually drag it to the side if you want. I'm going to leave mine at the top, though. So you have the ability to kind of change and move that if need be. And as you can see, most of this interface looks pretty much the same as what we showed in the PowerPoint slide. So we have our different buttons up here for file and draw and all that kind of stuff, and we have our kind of panel on the side here. But I want to kind of ignore all that. I want to actually get in and draw, because I think that's the most important thing. I want you to actually get in and start using this. And so what we want to do is we want to start by clicking this pencil button here, and we're going to click the pencil button, and we're just going to click once with our mouse, and we're going to draw a line. And you can see as I'm drawing the line's going to show up in green. And that means it's parallel to the axes. So you can see here, I have a green axis, I have a red axis, and a blue axis. So blue is vertical, green is, I guess you could call it X, and red is Y, for those that like math. For those that don't like math, you can just call red, blue, and green. So the cool thing about that is as I draw, if I go towards the red direction, my line's going to line up in red. If I go upwards, it's going to go in the blue direction. If I go straight, it's going to go in the green direction. And then if I am not in any of those directions, it's going to show up in black. So it really helps you kind of communicate and see where you're drawing and what's going on. And so I'm going to go in this red direction here. And as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, we have a measurement thing here. And so with this measurement, I'm going to type in a random number. Let's just type in 9 feet. So I'm going to put 9 apostrophe, and I'm going to hit enter. And SketchUp's going to automatically know by just typing in that measurement that we want that line to be 9 feet. And just to prove it to you, if I go back here and go back to grab that other point we just started from, you can see at the bottom in the right-hand corner, it says 9 feet. So that's kind of a good way to also check whether you did the right dimension, is you can just hover your mouse, and I'm not clicking anything, just hovering my mouse in the other direction. And so now let's go back in the green direction, but let's go backwards. And as you see, when I draw backwards, if I draw it close to this other dot that we have here, you'll see a dashed red line show up. And that dashed red line just tells you that you're in line with that other point. And so once we have that dashed red line, we could click. And now when we bring it this way, it'll be directly parallel to that line. And so I'm just going to close off my box here and click once more. And that's probably the longest I've ever taken to draw a box, but hopefully that makes sense, just having a little bit of instruction on how all that works. So now that we've drawn our box, you'll see the one thing that happens instantly as soon as I connect those dots is our box shades in gray. And so that signifies our box is now a closed object. It is an object. And so the coolest part about SketchUp is up here we have this button called push-pull, or I also call it extrude. And so if we click this button, we can now hover over that gray box and we can pull that box up. And so we can take that two-dimensional object and make it 3D very quickly. And so I think that's one of the most powerful parts about SketchUp. It's you create a box, you extrude it. You create a box, you extrude it. And so it's a very easy way to create form, to create an object. And it's kind of actually, I don't know if this was intentional, but when you think about parties, you know, if we're talking about subtracting or adding or extruding from a building with arrows in a partie, that's kind of what we're doing in SketchUp. SketchUp is like almost like a three-dimensional partie. We're kind of making those moves ourselves. So we created a box now. Let's go up here, and a couple buttons down from the pencil, there's a little square button that's called Shapes. So we can click that. And with the Shape button, we can actually draw a rectangle like so. And we can do that same thing. We can click the Extrude button and extrude that up like so. If we click the arrow beside the Shape button, we actually have some other options. So we can click Circle. And so we can draw a circle here. And again, we can extrude that object up. And before we do that, let's maybe click Polygon. And so polygon being a multiple-sided shape. And if you see down here at the bottom bar, where our status bar, it says use the Control plus or minus to add a different amount of sides. So if I hit Control plus, it's actually really hard to see, but let me do minus. You can see how it removes sides from that. And you can see where my pen icon is. It tells me how many sides I'm creating. So we could create a triangle with 3 sides. We can hit the plus button a few more times. Oh, and it actually does change after. So we can change that after we create it. If I click again, and let's do like a pentagon. And then we can also extrude these shapes. So we can extrude a circle. And when we extrude this circle, if we actually extrude up, you can see we can actually snap the height to other objects. So this blue dot I'm getting over here is actually snapping to the midpoint. And we can go up a little higher and we can snap to the top of that object. Or we can even go up even higher and snap to this object. So that's kind of a way that you can work through adjusting to different objects. So with the triangle, we can do the same thing. We can actually even still snap to the middle of that circle. And again, with the pentagon, you know, we can pick whatever object we want to do. So that's quickly how to start drawing some shapes. And I mean, obviously the possibilities are endless. And so I think where SketchUp becomes even more fun is, say down here, if we have this box, I wanted to cut out the corner. And there might be a few different ways I can do this. So I can actually just draw a box on this corner here. And now I have this box here, and you'll notice when I hover my extrude button over this box, we actually have two areas we can extrude from now. So I can extrude this box in like so, and then I can also extrude the box all the way in, and you'll see when I get to the end, if it snaps on that point and I let go of my mouse, it disappears, that whole element. So we just cut open part of that building like that. We can take this a step further, and we can be a little more abstract. So I mean, I could extrude another triangle here, and we could just extrude this out from it. So our building, you know, looks a little bit different now. It doesn't have to be rectilinear. It could be some abstract shape. Another kind of cool tool I'll kind of show that I use quite often is the offset button here. So there's this little button here. I think it is called offset. And what we can do with this offset is we can actually copy in lines at the same interval. So if I click on the edge here with the top edge shaded in, I can pull in another box on all four sides of the object. And so let's just click something like that. And now what we can do with this is we can actually extrude this down. And so we can cut open and create a void in the middle of our building. And the one weird thing about doing this is we're going to have this kind of weird bisecting of these two objects. And so we can quickly remedy this. It's a little bit more complicated, but we can actually grab the lines now and we can snap and we can just draw this shape that we have here. And then I can just go through and extrude that part away. And we still actually don't see through our object, but we have one more thing that we need to do, is we actually just need to delete these faces. So I can actually click this line and delete that line and delete that bottom line. And now we have, let me just move back my mouse here. And I'm using the scroll wheel on my mouse to rotate. So I'm clicking and holding the scroll wheel on the mouse. And that's kind of how you rotate like this. But now you can see as we move around here, we kind of have this void going through our building like this. So SketchUp's a really cool tool. I would highly recommend you kind of start to experiment and play with it. With that being said, we do have some in class, which we don't really have a lot of time to work through the in class today, but we could probably do this for a few minutes. I think everyone does, or most people have their laptops here, so we can do this for a few minutes. But what I would like for you to do today is draw 6 shapes. So the first one is we're going to draw a square, then a pyramid, then a cylinder, then a cone, and then a sphere. So those are the kind of shapes that we want to draw. So with a pyramid, I have to figure out how to edit all that time out. With a pyramid, you're just going to be staring at my blank screen. We can start off by drawing a shape. So we can draw this polygonal shape, and I'll just go down to our triangle. And so once you have this object here, you can pick the center of this, and you can go up the height here. And then once you get to there, then you can actually connect all these lines in like this. And so you can go around the object, and you can actually, once you do the first box, you can delete this center point. And then as you connect these, that should actually connect all 3 sides. And then when it comes to a sphere, I think you have to yeah, the sphere is a little more complicated. I won't do that one right now, but that's another way. So you can kind of create objects without extruding it. You can actually just connect those dots to create those objects.
So are we like turning